What's up, everyone? We are back at Casa, episode 5. I'm super stoked here with David Bitton. Just to give you a little background really quickly before we get into him, Casa is for people who are in the startup and VC world, especially that are building magnificent businesses. I myself am the host of Camp, Phil Castro here. At Camp, we throw some of the best startup and business events across the world. We're known for the public by putting on these extraordinary events in different cities, and of course also private events for your community, for your staff, and also to drive revenue. So today I'm with David Bitton. Why don't you really quickly introduce yourself, and then we're going to get into your background and we're going to talk about startup stuff.
Cool. Thanks so much for having me on the show. Originally from New York. I live in Miami now 22 years. I'm pre-COVID in Miami. And I've always been like a serial entrepreneur, had 5 startups before, 2 were acquired. And now I'm on my latest venture called DoorLoop, which is a property management software for landlords and property managers.
So how I would love this for this to go is this way. First, we are going to just back up just a little bit and talk about the 5 startups. If you can tell it in under 1 minute.
Oh boy.
Yep. And then we're going to go even further and we're going to talk about your upbringing. Cool. So step 1, last 5 startups, successes or failures, what they did in under a minute. Go.
Man, I have even more than 5, but let's see. So probably the first out of college or before college was called Aventura PC Repairs, computer repair company. Then I had Bitton Events, DJ entertainment company. I had From DJs for DJs, a music blog. And then I was working at, and then Practice Panther, and now, which was a software for lawyers. And now I'm at DoorLoop, the 5th official one, which is the property management software.
From most successful to least successful, it went from latest to the earliest, correct?
The computer repair actually was decent. Then the DJ blog, total failure. The entertainment company was the third best. Then Practice Panther. Now, pretty much.
Yes, right.
It gets better and better and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, DoorLoop is the biggest hit
by far,
which we will be talking about today.
Yes.
Cool. All right, so now as I promised, let's go back even further and talk about like your upbringing, how that was, New York City, what kind of family, what your parents did, etc.
Yeah, so born in New York City, but grew up my whole life in Long Island. And I guess my upbringing was, my dad was an entrepreneur. He had his own business. So I was always around that from a young age. He was a diamond wholesaler. Okay. So jewelry, diamonds, stuff like that. But he was always doing something. He had also a snack company. So he was always just very entrepreneurial. So that I always had that upbringing. You know, money wasn't something that we were always shy from. He gave me my first save to start collecting money, even like at 5 years old, just to start getting used to it and comfortable with it. And then I was always into computers. It was mostly because of him. The latest computer came out. It was a Gateway, 72 megahertz, not even gigahertz back then, not even quad core. It was like 1 core, super slow, floppy disk drives.
That makes you like 35 years old.
37 now. Yeah. So this was like, hey, well, it just came out. It was the good old days. The 90s. So got into computers, bought me my first CD burner, which was like $400 back then, crazy. Yep. And then I started, I think my first endeavor was selling mixtapes. So I was selling CDs to kids in school for $5.
Yeah.
So I got into that, started selling DVDs when the first DVD burner came out, and then I was a big tennis player. So giving tennis lessons, teaching for tennis, stringing tennis rackets. So I was always doing something entrepreneurial. Yeah. And I didn't really realize it, but it was because I just grew up that way.
Right, and you're always like, what can I trade, services or products for cash?
Yeah. To people in my school.
Can I do? Yeah. To my peers who don't have a lot of money. Exactly. So it has to be like very like on a small level.
$5.
Right, $5 items and lower.
Yeah. But back then, $5 with inflation is like, who knows how much of that.
Right. Okay. So and then fast forward a little bit to your like, let's say college years. Like, what was going on?
College years, still side hustles, fixing computers, still doing the tennis thing.
What kind of college person were you? Nerd, frat boy?
No, I went to University of Miami, didn't join any frats. I also lived in Miami, so I was back and forth from home a lot. Going out, South Beach, like this typical stuff everyone was doing back then. And I got into like club promoting and DJing. I love music, so I got into that. So it was DJing frat parties, sororities, bars, clubs. I was really into music. I loved it. Yep. So I made some money there that helped me travel and stuff throughout college.
Oh.
And cool. Then and then I just did that throughout college. And then when I graduated, I joined my first software startup.
Which was
which was Nova Point of Sale.
Uh-huh.
I was the third employee, and that's where I pretty much like learned everything.
There's like a certain point in everyone's career, including mine, where you get blessed with this opportunity to understand the startup world. It could be little, it could be a big thing. Usually it's a small thing. We usually start small, but it's like the introduction. And once you have that introduction, it is super hard to go back to anything else.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, it's funny you say that, because to me, there was like maybe 5 pivotal moments in my life, these like huge turning points. And which path do you take? And I was so lucky to take that one path early on. And it was either like grow my computer repair business or join the startup that I just stumbled upon. And after college, no one really knows what they wanted to do. So I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'll take this opportunity maybe. And it was a low salary. I was a third employee. I took a gamble. And it was the best decision I ever made. I remember learning more in 4 months on the job than 4 years of college. You're just learning so much. You're doing everything: sales, marketing, customer service, billing, support, onboarding. You're doing it. 3 employees. You're doing everything. So I learned everything in that company, and then from there, my career just took off from there.
Yeah, I mean, those are the blessed moments, and you look back at it, whether or not you knew it or not at the time, but later on, you're like, wow, like that was one of those moments.
Yeah. You just got to figure it out. My first day of the job, the CEO was like, okay, you're going to be the marketing director. Okay, great, thanks. And he's like, we have the biggest trade show of the year coming up in 2 weeks. We need a website, we need logo, we need a business cards, we need a trade show booth, we need all these things. You have 2 weeks. And I've never, and I'm leaving to Mexico, so good luck. I was like, oh my God. Just throw in the fire day one.
And you're like a 22-year-old kid.
22-year-old, and you just have to figure it out. And I just figured it out, so it was a great learning
And
experience.
deadlines really help. When somebody, even though they're like this particular one that you're talking about is a little obnoxious, but they help because they like make you grind until you get it done with that date and time in mind.
Yes.
And that's how it's possible.
There's actually a law, I forget what it's called.
I know what you're going to say.
Time, work fills the allotted time.
Mm-hmm.
If you have 3 months, a quarter to build a website, it will take you a full 3 months. If you have a week, you'll take a week. If you have an hour, you can build a website with a template in an hour.
Yeah.
So it just depends how much time you put on yourself.
Yeah, it's the prioritizing as well.
Yeah.
Because once you have a tighter timeline, you prioritize that more than anything else, and there's no time for fluff in between.
Yep. And it's always funny. I don't know if this happens to you. Every time I'm going away on vacation, let's say I have to leave this Friday for a vacation, I know I gotta get all my work done by Friday. Miraculously, I get like a week or 2 of work done within 2 to 3 days before the vacation. Just clear everything off the plate. It happens to you also?
You know what? Yes, it does. And you know what really helps with that and realizing this? Like it comes to actual life, having kids.
Oh,
because it makes you prioritize the time that you do have to be so efficient that you're almost not real. Like you're an engine, essentially.
It's funny you say that, because in my last company, I didn't have kids, I wasn't married, and I'd leave the office every day, 10 o'clock, easily. And I was doing things that weren't as important. I was cleaning the office, organizing the cables, things that I really shouldn't have been doing. And then I had kids in this company. I have 3 kids now. And like you said, I don't have 12 hours to work anymore. I have 8, maybe 9 hours max a day. So I have to squeeze everything into those 8 hours, and it has to be super productive. So I'm only focused on the 80-20 rule, like the 20% of things that will bring me the 80% of results, and I just completely ignore the rest.
Right.
So it's funny you mentioned that.
And then when you don't do those things, you're going to have to find somebody who can, which is pretty much going to cost money. So you're trading your money for your time, essentially, in the sense of efficiency.
You are forced to delegate and outsource, like on Upwork, for example, the things that aren't as important anymore.
Right, exactly. And because you have to focus on revenue-driving things, typically.
100%. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. You're like, I can go on forever. But we have a lot of other topics to get to. Okay, wonderful. So we talked a little bit about college. We talked about the upbreaking. Now let's talk about the evolution and also the epiphany, both, of Dorloop. How did it go down? You're a co-founder. What happened with the co-founders? Were you guys like eating breakfast, thinking about something? Were you out at happy hour? Like what transpired?
So with all the companies we've started, there was always, like if you are Shark Tank, there was always a personal problem that we wanted to solve for ourselves. And that led to the solution and the growth of our company. So with Dorloop specifically, there's different versions of the story, but this is my version. How I recall it, we were still at Practice Panther, my last company, with my other co-founder named Ori, and he started, buying apartments like to rent and become a landlord himself, a real estate investor. And I remember distinctly, he came into the office one day and was like, "Oh my gosh, dude, there is no easy software to help me manage my properties. I was looking online, nothing's affordable, nothing's easy to use. I want a free trial, I want to get started right away," and there was nothing available. So let's do it. And I was like, "Awesome, dude, but we have to finish this company first before we move on to the next one." So I think that was like the original seed at least.
Yeah.
And then a year and a half went by. We eventually exited that business. And I think the idea was still floating in his head. And on his end, more people were throwing that idea back into his head. So he called me up one day. He's like, "I really want to do this real estate software. Are you in?" I was like, "Yeah, 100%. But the funny thing was, before it was just me and him. And once you grow SaaS businesses and then sell them, you realize how much work it is to get to that point. It's so much work. So we were both like, this is a lot. Like now you know how much work it is. Before you go in,
you're blind.
You have no idea.
And it's a good and bad thing.
It's great.
A bad thing because you don't know what you're about to get into, but it's a good thing because you don't know what you're about to get into.
But once you know, you're like, "Oh my gosh, do we really want to do this again alone?"
Yeah.
So like, no, let's bring on more partners. So he was very smart to recognize that. And he said, "Okay, how can I build the dream team of co-founders?" Mm-hmm. So I love marketing. He's like, "All right, you'll be the CMO, you'll do marketing."
Yep.
I have a great guy that we both know, and he's going to be the head VP of sales. Okay, great. I have an amazing guy that we worked with also for 10 years already. He'll be head of customer support. Another guy who's the best CTO ever for tech, he'll be the CTO. So we had a superstar team of 5 co-founders, each owning their own department.
Yeah, that's wild. You never hear of 5 co-founders, like very rarely.
Yeah.
What about people that say that's a lot of chefs in the kitchen? What do you say to that?
So sometimes, but it was very distinct and clear that we had one CEO who was Ori, and almost like the buck stops with him. So if it ever came down to it, he'd make the final call. But it never got.
Does that.
It never got to a nasty point. He wanted, it was really good on him that he wanted everyone to really buy into the decision and whatever he made. Everyone should be happy. You're not going to be happy on every decision, but it was like a majority. Okay, let's vote on this. But it wasn't like there was no like votes. It wasn't so formal. We were just talking. Like the cool thing was we always wanted what was best for the business, and that always led to the right answer. And if we did have disagreements, we were very data oriented and data driven. So we said, "Okay, you think it should be X? I think Y."
Show me.
And we did an A/B test.
Right.
Let's A/B test it. Let's try both. Mm-hmm. Or we like to think of this, Amazon does this as like, I think it's called type 1 and type 2 or type A and B decisions, where is this a decision that could be easily reversed? Mm-hmm. If so, let's just make the decision. And if we're wrong, we'll change it in a week.
Yeah.
But if it's like a really big decision you can't really reverse, we'll take longer to think about it and debate about it, and then we'll make the decision.
So I've been a part of a lot of startups, even like VC-backed ones, and my question to you is this: how does that work with equity splitting though? If you have 5 co-founders, do you literally do equally 5 ways?
You could. I can't disclose what we did. You definitely could. You could also do it where it depends. Can people put in money? Can founders put in money?
Right.
Oh, they can. How much can you put? If you put in more, do you get more equity?
That's one way, but
that's
what's the second way?
Sweat equity.
There we go.
Exactly. So you have different combinations of things.
What about workload? You ever tamper with that? Meaning,
no.
Okay, well, this person is single. He doesn't have kids. He doesn't have a wife.
No.
He has more time on his hands. He can spend 65 hours instead of 40.
That
so
will
person
change,
gets
though.
1% more equity.
That will change because maybe today they have 65 hours and then maybe they get married and have a child soon.
That's why you're on an investing schedule.
When you have a kid,
really quickly, tell them what a vesting schedule is.
So pretty much, let's say you are going to earn 10% equity in the business. So you have what's called, you're going to earn 10% over 5 years. So year 1, you'll earn 2%. Year 2, 4%, 6, 8, 10 until you get to 5 years. That's usually what you'll do with employees, not necessarily co-founders, but you could do it with co-founders also.
They made us vest ourselves.
Yeah, that's good too. And then a 1-year cliff is like, hey, if you leave the company before the first year, you get nothing. You got to say at least for the first year. So we had something similar, like, hey, if you leave the company, that's not cool. We're going to keep working for you. So we had something like that in our agreement. Mm-hmm. But there's so many different ways to structure agreements. The most important part is you could draft it initially with ChatGPT today, of course, then eventually debate it with your co-founders, make sure everyone agrees, make sure it's very fair for everyone, and then eventually have a lawyer sign off on it.
Yeah, but I would say the usual is 4-year vesting, 2-year cliff, and then after that it's 1/48 until the 4-year hits, which is a full vest.
We had something very similar.
Yeah, which of course there's nuances with like triggers and accelerators and stuff, but we won't get into that.
You want to make sure that your co-founders are invested in the company as much as you. They're here for the long term. They have the best interest at heart. They're not working on anything else. They're not making any outside money. They are 100% all in and focused on this business.
And why it's important that everyone is vesting is because if 2 of them leave out of the 5 and you're trying to raise a round later on, a year later, and there's investors that are smart, which most of them are, they're going to say, wait a minute, before we give you this 5, 10, 15 million bucks, why is there a bunch of dead weight on the cap table with 2 people gone?
For sure.
And that might alter the actual deal that they're trying to make with you. So
there's a lot of things we learned early on about structuring and partnership agreements and LLCs, and I'll give you 2 huge tips. One was drag along rights. We never had this issue, but I've heard of companies that had 2 co-founders as an example. One wanted to sell, one didn't. They couldn't sell the company. And they had great offers, couldn't sell the company. So you want to make sure that one person can force the rest, usually the CEO, to sell the company and drag the company along, it's called, to sell. And when we raise money, we also wanted to keep that control. So like, hey, we want to sell, we're going to drag the VCs along also when we want to sell.
What about the board though?
Same. If the CEO wants to sell, they should sometimes have that power to sell, or the majority. You don't want to ever get stuck like, we can't do anything with this company, right? And also, if the CEO wants to check out, it's usually not best for the business. Like, you probably want to sell as well. So that's one. 2, something called QSBS. You ever heard of this?
Yeah, of course.
You have?
I'm a part of it.
You are? Oh, wow. This was like, we went through 2 companies, 2 acquisitions, didn't know about it until this one. So QSBS, I think, stands for Qualified Small Business something tax exemption. And basically, you start your business, you get a professional valuation from a law firm. Let's say they value you at $10 million, amazing. Then you convert your company to a C Corp, and the clock starts ticking. You have 5 years to hold. You cannot sell your business for 5 years.
This includes investors, founders, anyone with shares.
So you convert to a C Corp, get that valuation, and then if you hold your business for 5 years and then you sell it after 5 years, the government will give you no tax, no long-term capital gains in the sale of your business for up to 10 times your initial valuation.
Which is a huge chunk of money, by the way.
Crazy. Usually, let's say you sell for $100 million and your initial valuation was $10 million, you would be paying 20% long-term capital gains, $20 million to the government. You pay nearly 0.
And why they do this, they amended it, by the way, recently in the past. I think it was 12 years ago. But why they do this is because they want to champion innovation in the U.S. Why? Because without that, a lot of people are not going to be able to even afford starting a big company because it's going to bite them in the ass in year 5 or 6 because they have to pay all these crazy taxes. They don't even have money on liquid to pay. They just have it on paper.
For sure.
So that's why QSBS is a huge advantage point for any founder who knows about it, or any shareholder, I should say, who knows about it, because they exercise these rights and then they don't have to pay these crazy sums. They save tons of cash.
I mean, I wish, what I know now, I wish I knew back then. So the best advice I can give is, have other advisors, mentors, board members on your team, previous SaaS founders that have done this, that have exited, because they've gone through all of this and more, and they can just help you so many ways you don't even know.
It's wisdom and like getting their ass handed to them so many times in life that they just like tell you the things that they wish that they knew. So just like if you're mentoring or advising a 22, 23, 24-year-old just out of college, and they have like, they're the seed stage founder and they're about to do these crazy things too, you're going to tell them what you just told me.
I mean, I'll give you one more last example. The first company that got acquired, we paid 23.8% long-term capital gains. There's 20% and another 3.8%. And 3.8% is a lot of money when you're talking
big money.
So that happened. In the second company, and we had big accountants, big law firms. The second company, our accountant was like, you don't need to pay that 3.8%. What do you mean? Oh, because X, Y, and Z with a SaaS company. Really? So, you learn all these things as you go, and then hopefully you don't make the same mistakes over. But you can't even trust accountants or lawyers sometimes. They don't even know everything. So get as much advice as you can. Get as many mentors in your network as you can.
Mentors can definitely save you big bucks and also accelerate where you want to go to.
Join communities like Camp. You can meet other founders and
look at them plugging Camp. I didn't even pay him for this.
but for real, when you go to these Camp events, you speak to other founders and they're all just sharing ideas like this all the time. And that's how I learned about QSBS. From not a camp, but in another summit, with Alpine investors, with other founders in a room, and they're like, "Oh, we paid no capital gains." I'm like, "What? How?" And
but also, as I mentioned, that was amended recently. That's why it's kind of like a newish thing. It wasn't like this like 25 years ago or something.
No, definitely not. No, it's new.
I believe it was like 2005 when they amended it to the limit.
And I think they're trying to get rid of it, but I think
It keeps going back.
Trump is probably going to keep renewing it, so
Yep.
we'll see.
Yeah, we got to keep following it.
Yeah.
But look it up,
Yes.
QSBS.
QSBS.
Okay, so going, we kind of like went off the rails a little bit, but that's good because I like this because when we do this, that means we're talking about something interesting where we kind of keep going further and further, right?
Yeah.
But going back to what we were saying, we were talking about the epiphany and the rollout, and you were saying that from what you recall, you're with Panther. Give me the name.
Practice Panther.
Practice Panther when you kind of had the first idea of it, and then you rolled it out, and then what happened in the first, let's say, year? Like, give me like the sum up of what happened.
Yeah, so the first few months was a lot of due diligence, looking at the market, how we're going to win, what do the competitors look like, how can we be better than them, what's the marketing plan, what's the business plan, everything. A lot of planning, then executing. So building the actual software takes an enormous amount of time, effort, money, energy, work, everything. So we initially started investing money and then building the software. That took a long time. Working on the website, getting the marketing ready. And that was like the first year, just building, getting ready to launch into beta. So you have a book behind me, Lean Startup by Eric Ries, one of my favorite books ever.
Right.
And the problem I see founders make a lot is they're in stealth mode for 4 years. They're
Too
building, and they launch and then nothing happens.
Right.
And the market doesn't care. They don't care about this one feature that you thought was going to be a game changer. So what we did was we launched early. We weren't proud of what we launched, but that's how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to have bugs. It's not supposed to be perfect. And the people that are joining your company, customers early on, there's that adoption curve, innovation adoption curve. You have like the, early adopters, the innovators, and then the laggards.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted those like early adopter innovators that were going to take the chance with us, try our software, know that there's bugs, be a beta tester, and we gave it away for free for the first few months to those people. Like, we know it's not great, but what do you think? How can we improve? And we're really good at listening to the customers and just asking them, like, what do you want? What do you think? How can we do better? So that was like the first 2 years. Just a lot of beta customers, a lot of testing. And
You're making money though.
For the first 6 months, no.
But the year and a half after that.
Yeah. Then eventually we started charging those people.
Right.
Normal fair amount. We were below the competitors' pricing, and then as we added more features and got better, we started getting up to par. And then we started going above.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I knew that was
worked our way up.
Yeah, I had a feeling that was going to be that way. So for the first 6 months, what was some of the feedback, and how do you know to take serious feedback from certain people and to ignore what others say?
You're always trying to hit PMF, product market fit, right?
Yeah.
So,
and what's your definition of that? Because I feel like every time I ask it changes from person to person.
To me, the definition is leads are coming to your site. They're scheduling demos. They're getting free trials. They're signing up. They're using the software. They're sticky. They're not leaving. They're not churning. They love the software. They're raving fans. Great book, Raving Fans also. They're giving you feedback. They want to make you better. They're telling their friends. And you're like, holy cow, people really like our software. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're collecting rent. They're using it. They're using it it's helping their lives.
Yeah.
So that's, to me, like, wow, the ultimate. And we saw that early on with the last company, Practice Panther. We didn't hit product market fit. We were not a software for attorneys. And we were struggling and people weren't so happy. And then they ended up, I ended up going with this other software meant for lawyers or meant for dentists or meant for plumbers. And once we pivoted, which was a whole big story, to go to lawyers right away. It was like they were sticking. They loved it. They were giving us feedback. They were using it. Okay, wow.
That's why pivots are great. It's like, it's your times at bat.
Yeah.
And pivots usually are a luxury. Yeah. Usually you only get it if you have enough runway.
Yeah.
Usually you only get it if you have enough money. Yeah. Usually you only get it if there's not that much of down rounds where people still have that momentum and that fierce fight in them.
Yep.
It's a luxury. So if you have all those things, then the pivots occur. Iterations happen every day.
Yes.
Iterations are just the ongoing changes that are happening under the hood. But pivots are like those really big things where you like switch a whole industry or a whole business model where you go from B2B to B2C or something like that. Yeah. And you have the cash flow and the time to do it.
For us, it was a decision with the last company. You were asking me offline, like, hey, was there ever a time where, you guys died, business almost died? And that was, the last startup. It was called PayPanther at the time. It wasn't for lawyers. And we were struggling. I almost gave up. My partner almost gave up. We almost gave up numerous times. And we made a decision. Either we change or die, right? Either we give up and close this, or we make a drastic pivot. At the time, we started getting some traction with law firms. My wife, I ended up getting married. She was an attorney. His wife was an attorney. And then his wife was using a competitor and said, you guys can do this so much better. Okay, we looked in the market. We said, we think we can. Mm-hmm. So we pivoted. But like you said, it took 6 to 9 months to rebrand, rebuild the software.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work,
Yeah.
and we didn't know if it was going to work.
It was worth it.
And it was our last Hail Mary,
right.
and it worked. So
nice.
So
what was the outcome of that company?
So that company, we pivoted. I think we launched mid-2015, gave it away for free. That's been like our playbook for 6 months. And then January 1st, 2016, we started charging people. So the thing that worked really well for us always when launching was like, give it away for free.
Yeah.
Get feedback. Just get as many people as you can on the system.
Because that's worth money to you.
Eventually, if they're sticky, they're not going to go.
Not even that. Let me iterate.
They're your feedback. They're your QA.
Yeah. I mean, that's like hiring people.
Yeah,
almost.
yeah. They're your QA team, right?
Yeah.
And they're your product market team, and they're giving you feedback. So, let's say we were getting 10 new people a month using our software, and we gave it away for free, making up numbers. Maybe it was 50 now. 50 were using it. Wow, 5x. So after 6 months, we had 600 people using our software, and we said, okay, now we're going to start charging you. And we made it very clear, January 1st, we're going to start charging. So out of 600, maybe even 300 stayed, would have been way better than what we were doing before.
Sure.
So all of a sudden, we were profitable and doing well. So that's always been like our playbook to launching. And then within 2 years, it grew so fast, we ended up getting acquired 2 years later.
Okay, what was revenue at the time of acquisition? 5 million,
I
10
can't
million?
say, but we were doing well. We had about 30 employees at the time, so still not huge, but we were happy. We hit our number and we were good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what did you do after the acquisition? Like, what was the? It was like a waiting period. Were you like trying to ideate stuff?
Yeah. So it's an interesting question because a lot of VCs will make you, or PEs will make you stay for a year, 2 years.
Yeah.
You're so important to the business, you have to stay.
Mm-hmm.
For us, we got very good at automating as much as possible, automating marketing, automating the whole sales flow and funnel and everything, that we made ourselves, almost, so I'll backtrack for a second. As the CEO of that company, I thought I had to be the most important person of that company. Mm-hmm. A consultant came in one day, saw how I worked, shadowed me, and I was like, oh, what do you think? Look how I'm running this. He's like, horrible. He's like, you're trying to be the most important person in the company. What happens if you go on vacation? What happens if something happens to you? Mm-hmm. You need to be the least important person in the company. Mm-hmm. So that changed my whole mindset to delegating as much as possible, making process, procedures, training guides. I used to train every employee one by one. And then I started making, back then there wasn't Loom, but Loom videos now. Yeah. And Trello and Notion training guides. So now I'd hire someone, oh, here's your training guide. I don't need to train you anymore. It was fully automated training. So everything was automated. So when the VC came in and acquired us, they said, oh, you guys can leave tomorrow if you want to. We prefer you to stay. And we ended up staying a year and a half longer because we wanted to grow and see what they did. It was really cool. But we could leave because we built these automated trainings and processes.
Yeah. There's like a quote, I might butcher it, I'm going to say it anyway. It's like your success is determined by the outcomes of your processes.
Yeah.
So if you have it all buttoned up and you can hand it off to someone, that's how you actually can scale, delegate, and grow. But if you cannot do that, it's going to halt your growth.
For sure. You got to make sure that anything you could do, someone else can do in the company. Because God forbid, if you're not there for whatever reason, someone could take over.
Right. I think that's hard for a lot of early stage entrepreneurs to understand. Or
letting go is hard.
Yeah, letting go.
Delegating is hard.
Yeah, because they think that everything that they do, they're a 10 out of 10. Or they feel that way because it's like their baby.
Yeah.
So nobody can do this as good as them. Nobody can do that as good as them. But little do they know that's going to halt their growth.
It will. And it's probably the biggest lesson I learned from the last company, where you have to hire A players day one and not settle for someone that's not doing as good of a job as you. And we got very lucky where we found a few of those A players that I literally said, oh my gosh, they're doing a better job than me.
Yeah, better.
Oh my gosh.
Once you get to the better, that's crazy.
Crazy.
It is insane.
And they're worth it. And instead of paying, back then it was, let's say $15 an hour, I would be willing to pay someone $30 an hour.
Right.
Because they're getting the work done of 2 to 3 people, and they're doing it better than one person.
Yeah.
So it's worth it. So don't skimp on your first few hires. Pay a little bit extra. And if they're not doing a great job, if they're not an A player, if they're not doing something better than you, it's okay. You can find someone better.
So I know we're jumping around a bit, but it's okay. Tell me really quickly, and I'm guessing you can't share this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Where's Door Loop at with valuation today? And if you can't tell me that, tell me what your last round is in your series.
So we have raised $130 million to date. We did a $10 million seed round from a lot of friends, family, founders, And then we did a 20 million Series A round with ASG, which was the company that acquired our last company.
Mhm.
And then we just closed a few months ago 100 million Series B round, so 130 million to date. Valuation, we don't like to disclose, but it is public online, so do a Google search and you probably will find it.
And Google search says it's
I'd rather not say, but you can find it online.
250 million. I don't know this. I'm just guessing it, by the way. We'll put it underneath when I
Yeah.
when we do the
So
recap video.
I don't like to disclose, but it's out there.
Cool.
If you search hard enough.
Uh-huh.
So we're trying. What's crazy about this company is that we had our initial goal for the company, initial value for the company, initial number of units we had to manage to get to that, and it was our 5-year plan, and then we hit it in a year, and we're like, holy cow, we're onto something here.
Why do you think that was?
I think the market was a lot bigger than we thought it was. I think the market was growing a lot faster than we thought it was. I think that there was a need that was a lot stronger than we thought it was. And I don't think we understood how fast and how quickly we can execute with a team of 5 co-founders.
I mean,
We
that's
undervalued
a silly
that.
statement. Say that again.
Yeah, we didn't realize.
If they're all good co-founders, which I assume that they are, then
You
you
never
guys are
know.
going to execute
You never
like
know.
motherfuckers.
You never know, and just like, look, a lot of it is luck, right? I attribute a lot of it to like luck and timing.
Yeah.
Great timing. We launched during COVID, which you might say is horrible. For some companies it was. For us it was great
Yeah.
because COVID made everything very expensive. No one could afford buying houses. So, well, actually interest rates were a bit better, but there was a lot of renters coming into the market, a lot. So it was a good time for us, for our industry.
Mhm.
So we just got lucky. Right place, right time.
Okay. And being a co-founder and being in charge of a lot of the marketing, what was like the go-to-market strategy that got you to this growth of what you could do in 5 years and 1 year? What did you do exactly? And if you give me some details, that'd be great.
Yeah. So the 80-20 rule applied here because now I had at this time when we launched 2 kids, so time was limited, and I knew what worked and what didn't work, and I knew what not to spend my time on. So for me at least, and for our business, this isn't a blanket statement for everyone, social media did not work for us historically, for our industry. So I said, you know what? Social media isn't my forte. It didn't work for us. I'm not going to invest any time in social media. I don't think we made our first social media post for 12 months, right?
Mhm.
Which is crazy to some people. That's all they do.
Yeah.
For us, we were also lucky that we had a lot of money. We already raised $10 million. So
Yeah.
we had some money and power behind us to launch right away.
Yep.
And I was an expert at the time, and I've mastered Google ads, paid marketing, the whole funnel, landing page optimization, conversion optimization. We mastered all that already. So we were very confident and comfortable investing heavy amounts of money. I mean, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in
I believe
paid
it.
marketing from almost day one.
Yeah.
So we went heavy on Google ads, heavy on paid marketing, all the paid directories, and then we also went heavy investing in SEO and content marketing. So if you go to our site, doyleblue.com/resources, not a plug, you could just go and replicate what we did. There's a lot of resources that we offered, a lot of value, a lot of gated content, a lot of forms, a lot of calculators. We just wanted to be, our vision is to be the go-to platform for all things property management. If you want to learn about the industry, come to our site. So we have a lot of, we call it tofu content, top of funnel content. You're not looking for our software yet. You're just interested in learning about the industry. Come and learn.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll say, when you are ready, oh, Dorloop gave me some really good advice. Maybe I should look into them.
Yeah, I know someone that's doing something similar to that.
Yeah.
We're doing the entrepreneurial type of content,
Yeah.
and then
Thought
we're
leadership.
starting to invest very soon in all these other cool things. So it kind of leads one thing to another.
It's a long-term play, but it works out.
Mm-hmm. And the content you were giving, I'm just curious. This is like 3 years ago now, 4 years ago.
2020, 2021. 5 years ago.
So 5
4 or 5
years
years
ago.
ago,
4 or
yeah.
5 years ago. What was the content like at that point that you were shooting out? Like
So-
learn how to
So
tidbits on.
learn how to start and grow your property management business.
Yeah.
Learn how to become a real estate investor. Learn how to become a landlord. How to protect yourself.
Mhm.
How to make sure tenants pay on time. What happens if you have an eviction? If you need to evict someone? What happens if tenants are allowed? Like anything that could happen to you, right? As a business owner.
Would you say that Door Loop's tagline, or maybe it's not, but maybe you could just take it from me and I won't
Yeah.
charge you. Well, maybe I will charge you like 1 point, maybe 2% equity.
Yeah, perfect.
Property management made easy, or what would you sum it up
That
as?
is the headline of our website.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't even read it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Subconsciously, yeah. property management made easy. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
our
tagline. There you go.
I guess it makes a lot of sense. So.
Exactly. So that's our tagline.
Oh, cool.
100%.
Okay. And then they have all the tools for this. They can just go in and do their thing, and you have all the guidebooks and the everything to help. Okay, cool.
To learn, we do a lot of education. What's very special about us also is we, in the beginning, a lot of our competitors were charging for support, and charging for onboarding, and man, it would take you 3 months to get onboarded with that software, and they would charge you $5,000 to onboard. And we're like, this is crazy. You should be able to onboard in 24 hours. Why is it so complicated? So we made onboarding really quick, really fast, really efficient. 24 hours, you could start using our software right away, out of the gate. And what we did was we invited a lot of first-time property managers that didn't know how to grow their business, but we also had bigger property managers. So we were also learning what they were doing, and we were teaching the smaller guys, this is how you grow. This is what you should do. So accounting was a big educational piece where a lot of our customers didn't know about accounting. So we were educating and teaching them also. So they loved us because we weren't just like, oh, here's the software, go figure it out. Here's the software, we're going to hold your hand, we're going to set you up for success, and we're going to teach you accounting, and we're going to help you grow. That was a win-win. And if they grow, we grow. Yeah. So it was a win-win for everyone.
What is your, let's talk about nitty-gritty stuff now. I want to talk about the next few topics just to set the tone. One is going to be revenue model. Second one is going to be more of the marketing, so CAC, LTV, and all that stuff. So revenue model first. How do you guys make money? What is the percentage? What is the average client spending, et cetera?
So can't disclose everything, but
try and disclose whatever you can,
but SaaS companies, so majority of revenue obviously comes from our subscription. So we have a few different plans ranging from $69 a month to $149 a month, around there to start on 3 different plans on our website. That was always, we can go into that whole thing. Do you offer 1 pricing plan? Do you offer 3? So we always started with 1, then we ended up learning that
3 is the best.
3 is good because you are going to have people that are just going to want the lowest, cheapest, and they can eventually grow. But you also have the more serious business owners. I want the best for my business, and they will pay the highest amount.
Even if that's 10% of them, you're still in a huge win right now.
Yeah,
but the caveat to that is you have to actually give them exactly what they're getting. And when you start getting into the subscription game, customer service becomes way more of a bitch. You really have to be on top of your game because churn is real.
Churn is real, 100%. Especially first 30-day churn. It's like buyer's remorse churn. They're not sure. They're excited, they're motivated. They had an issue today in their business. They signed up today, but then a week goes by and they're like, well, it's not such a big issue anymore. You go back.
It's still fresh in their brain too, that they'll just cancel it.
They'll cancel, and their motivation isn't there. So my best advice is hey, if the motivation's hot now, sign them up today, get them onboarded right away. Don't delay, because if you delay, the more you delay, the more they're going to churn. And I love the analogy to a car dealer. If you're looking to buy a car, you go to a dealership, you're on the lot, and they know if you're on the lot, you don't let them leave the lot, which is the most painful part of buying a car leasing, because you're there for 4 or 5 hours because they know we're going to keep you here as long as possible, so you never want to do this again, and you're not going to leave until you buy a car or lease a car. So it's similar. You have someone on a demo. They're doing a demo with you. They're on the phone. Don't hang up. Get them to sign up. And they want to. You need to push them because they need to. So it's in their best interest also. But you can also give them you can give a 30-day money-back guarantee. You don't want to hold anyone hostage. You don't want any bad blood. You don't want any angry customers online. So get them in the door, get them set up, get them on board, and make them happy.
And if they ever did, for whatever reason, want a refund, you make it easy for them, not hard.
Make it easy, exactly. Oh, I didn't get to your other question. So pricing. So that's most of it. Obviously, there are some additions and add-ons and value adds that you could add on to every customer. For us, another way is processing fees. People have to pay rent through our software. We're very transparent. It's everywhere. This is how much we charge for convenience fees and stuff like that. So there's that too.
Okay. So what is the average person spending with you per year, customer?
Can't disclose, but you can go to our website and you can see, right now our typical customers anywhere from 20 units under management to 300, 500. So that's about our range. So you can, what is it middle plan, 100 units, you can sort of figure out how much they're spending.
Okay. And how are you acquiring these users? Are this all paid? Is it still all paid?
It's a lot of paid. Yeah. It's a lot of organic. It's a lot of direct. It's a lot of referrals now because we've grown. It's a lot of SEO, content marketing. It's social media now as well. It's everything now. webinars, podcasts, trade shows. It's everything.
It's all cylinders.
Yeah.
Because now you have the bandwidth.
Exactly.
And now you
And
have product market fit. And now you have a big team.
Yeah.
And then each team member's handling X, Y, Z.
It's Instead of one person doing 10 things, we have one person doing only one thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Isn't it also nuts? Side note, isn't it also nuts how like being a founder or even like executive in general with a startup, you have to like almost reinvent yourself every 6 months to a year.
Easily.
And like all of it changes. So right when you mastered something, it's like now you have to master the second level, which is not like the first.
100%.
It's so annoying.
It could even happen sooner than that, especially with like the content marketing side with AI. Oh my gosh, a year is like an eternity for AI. Every 3 months, there's a new model coming out, and a new this, a new tool, a new that. So that's been the hardest part as a marketer, keeping up with AI and content marketing. And also everyone is flooding the internet with their own posts. So before it would take us years to come up with 1,000 blog posts. Now it could take someone a month to replicate everything we did, at almost as good of a job we did with AI. So it's a little bit annoying because competitors can come out and replicate you really quickly, but you just got to keep evolving. Yeah.
So as someone that headed marketing for a bit and obviously has overseen a lot of the budget, where are some areas where you're like, oof, that was worth it? And where are some areas where you're like, that was not worth it? You should not have done that. And not to say that it works for everyone, either one, but just for you yourself, anecdotally.
I am very big into tracking every single click because a lot of times it was my money that I was dishing out. So if I can't track it, if I can't measure the results, it's if it's more branding or brand awareness, I wouldn't do that early on. I would only focus on things that I could literally track per click with UTM parameters, UTM source campaign, directly back into Salesforce or HubSpot, whatever CRM you're using, and I could see measurable results. And I wouldn't want to spend a lot of money upfront. If someone said, oh, for 25 grand, you'll get this cold email list, you'll get this, or you'll make this much money. That's too much money.
Yeah.
Let's do a $1,000 test. So I would throw out $1,000 everywhere. Maybe 5,000 max, just throw them out and just start seeing what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
If I could break even, back to your question on like LTV, CAC and stuff like that. So if I could break even, which was to us like a 1 year payback, 100% return on ad spend ROAS or ROI, I would be happy with that. So I was looking to make my money back in a year. Things that didn't work, sometimes trade shows don't work. Sometimes print ads don't work. Sometimes, radio, stuff like that didn't work so well. It's hard to track. There's so many things. Banner ads on industry sites don't always work. But things that do work, Google Ads, because there's intent. So when I look at marketing, I think of high intent or low intent. Someone is actively searching Google for, I am looking to buy a property management software, or they're just browsing Facebook and they see an ad. There's no intent. Maybe they're interested, maybe not, but there's no intent. So, in a magazine, in a banner ad on a website, there's no intent. And maybe you'll email campaigns that you get paid for. Maybe you'll capture a few people, but if there's high intent, you're going to pretty much always do
that
well.
the question you ask yourself a lot of the times?
Yeah. What's the intent? And then I have like a calculator that reverses it. If you're telling me, 5,000, I'll get you 10,000 clicks. Okay, 10,000 clicks. What's my conversion rate on my website? What's my conversion rate to a demo? What's my conversion rate? And I keep breaking it down. Okay, I think I can make an ROI. Let's give it a shot.
Okay. And did this, I guess you can call it strategy, change from 3 or 4 years ago when you're first starting out to now? Because now you have way more money, so you can do stuff for awareness, and you can do stuff that's not clickable or trackable as much, right?
Yes, you can, and we definitely do. So let's say back then we wanted to make our money back in 1 year, maybe now it's 2 years, let's just say. We're willing to take a longer payback period, which makes it harder for new competitors to compete. Because if I'm willing to spend, throwing this number, made up number, $100 a click on Google for the number one spot, how are you going to compete when you just launch your company? $100 a click, that's your monthly marketing budget. It's impossible. So there are things that when you scale, it's harder. You're building a competitive moat around you. So you're making it harder for new incumbents to come in. Also, if you're charging $100 a month and they're like, oh, we're going to charge $10 a month, they can't compete because they can't invest so much money in ads. They can't make ROI. So there's that. Remind me the question. Oh, how did it change?
Yes.
So eventually we started doing more thought leadership, more branding. I used to always have a saying, branding doesn't pay the bills. it's hard to track, but as you get bigger, you do want more share of voice. You do want to get out there, so you start doing more of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So,
you try to track it. There are ways. I'll give you one idea.
sure.
This is actually a great one. This came from our social media director. Her name was Sydney. She was great. I love working with her. She was like, "Hey, we're doing all this stuff. We can't track it. Why don't we just ask people when they sign up, where'd you hear of us?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, it's so simple."
Yeah.
So now if someone comes to our website and we don't know, there's no UTM parameters attached.
Yeah.
We ask them, "Where'd you hear of us?"
Yeah.
And if maybe it's Quora, Reddit, everything we're testing, we might throw it there and let's see.
Yep.
So that's how we track it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that is more of a common thing that people should know that by now.
I know.
Just
It's
do
like
that.
simple things, but you don't think of it.
Every single registration, that's the last question that we ask for any event that we've ever done in our lives.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about some marketing stuff. Yep. We talked about your personal life. We talked about Door Loop. Let's talk about actually raising that capital, what you had to show the investors, and also the roadmap and the vision you had to also present to them to make them believe in you to hand over $100 million. Is that like all is it $100 million straight cash, or how does that work?
Can't disclose everything, but a lot of investors, some will give you it right away. Some will give it to you in installments.
Yeah, like 4
Some will
installments.
give it to you in 4 installments every quarter, every 6 months, every year.
Mm-hmm.
Some will give it to you if you hit certain milestones. If you hit this much ARR, like you're saying you will, then we'll give you the next tranche. So there's a million different ways. Now, the cool thing is every time we raised money or got acquired, we worked with VCs or PEs that were very creative. We said, we want this. And they figured out a way to get us to what we wanted. They figured out a way to make everyone happy, protect their downside, and make us happy.
Which milestones and tranches do that?
As an example, if you're selling your company and I want X, but you're not worth X today. Yeah. Okay, we'll give you Y right now.
And then if you hit this,
exactly, an earn-out as an example. And if you don't hit it, we'll prorate it for you. You hit 80%, we'll give you 80%. Everyone's happy. Yep. So you can do that. And by the way, if you overachieve, you should also make more. Yeah. So that was a mistake we made in the past.
And this is what VCs do too. It's called capital calls. Yeah. They don't, when they invest money to a fund, you don't give your full allotment at once. Right. You do it in tranches usually, which is quarterly, and it's called a capital call.
Yeah. Most funds, when they raise a fund, it's like a 5 or 7 year fund. They're raising money for the first 1 or 2 years. You're going to be making capital calls for the first 3 years. They're usually trying to invest the money in companies in the first 3-4 years, and then hold for 3-4 years, and then sell, and then return the equity to the investors.
So going back to my question then, and if you can't answer it personally. By the way, I should have fed you mimosas this morning because I feel like some of these answers would have came out.
Maybe.
But anyway, if you can't answer this personally and tell your exact numbers, give me some examples of how this would work. If you're talking to an investor, what do you have to show them to get what? And throw out some numbers so that way people can
for sure
calculate it.
So, fortunately, it wasn't as hard for us to raise the money because we're seasoned founders. We've already done it. This is our 3rd SaaS company in a row. It's our 3rd rodeo. We're doing it bigger, better, faster. We've already shown product market fit. We were always big fans of bootstrapping the company.
As long as possible,
which means, for those that don't know, is we never raised money before we launched the company. Yep. We always wanted to launch the company, find product market fit, make some recurring revenue, at least $1 million of ARR before raising, because otherwise they're going to take half your company.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to take half.
Depending on who you are.
Founders, though.
Exactly.
If you're new founders, because the risk is still high.
Super
high
then
risk. If they're going to give you, let's pretend $750,000, they'll still take 25-30%, which is really
it's
high.
It's a lot.
Really high. But now if you're seasoned founders, you've done this a couple of times, they might go after 10%.
Exactly. So it was better for us like that, exactly. So when we first raised at $20 million, it was on very good terms because we were seasoned founders doing well, product market fit, etc. Now, what investors are looking for, they're looking at the team a lot, especially if you don't have a lot of revenue yet, maybe you're pre-revenue, the team is very important to them. Like you see on Shark Tank, they're interviewing the founder a lot of times more than anything else. So the team is important. They want to see the size of the market, TAM, SAM, SOM, serviceable, addressable market, serviceable, obtainable market, all these things they're looking at. You need to present them with your data, and they're going to do their own research and vetting also. They want to look at the competitors. Who are they? Are they good? Why are you better than them? What's your unique value prop? Stuff like that, basic stuff. It's like basic business school stuff. What's your marketing plan? What are you going to do with the money? Oh, you want $100 million? That's a lot of money. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
And when are you going to deploy it? And what's your strategy? And what's your plan? And what's your vision? And all these things. So they want to make sure, and the pitch deck could be 10 slides. The team, the software, why you're better, the competitors, SWOT analysis, like basic stuff.
Yeah.
You find pitch decks online. And then for us, what really excited them was like that initial first call. Well, at least with us, we were already getting known, so they were coming to us, which is always better. If they come to you, it's always better.
Oh my God, yeah.
Always better. So they came to us. But that initial call, when they're asking these questions and you're able to be like, oh, like, can you go on Zoom real quick? Oh, yeah. Can I share my screen? Yeah. Oh, look at our dashboards. Look at our reports. Look how... And they're like, oh my gosh, like for a company doing, let's just say $1 million of ARR, you already think like this? You have A/B testing, you have dashboards, you have analytics, you track it. Like, what?
It's advanced.
That's not normal, right? Yeah. So they get excited when you're looking at the data. Most companies don't look at the data. They're not big into finance. Like if you are, they love that.
Yeah.
Because they know they're going to give you your money and you're going to test the hell out of every dollar they give you. You're going to track every penny they give you.
Right.
So you stretch it further.
If your cap table is clean, if your data room is robust,
yes,
and if you know exactly what you're talking about,
yes,
like domain expertise and knowledge,
yes,
that the ball is in your court at that point.
That impressed them the most. Yeah. The data piece really impressed them. Like the fact that you're very data oriented, very A/B testing mindset. That was a big one for them.
Okay. Yeah. So raising 100 million, again, you don't have to say it for yourself, but in general, raising 100 million, what should revenue typically be at for your type of company? If you're going to raise 100 million, you need X amount of revenue per year.
It's going to be different for every company. Some companies raise 100 million with
20 million ARR?
With 10 million ARR. Some do it with 50 million ARR. It depends on your company.
You just said 10 to 50. So there you go. So there's your answer. 10 to 50 million ARR typically to raise $100 million.
You could be at 100 million ARR and raise another 100 million. Like it just, what are you going to do with the money? Some people take some of that and put it in their pockets.
Yeah, but most people with 100 million ARR is not going to want to raise $100 million.
Depends if they're not profitable yet still.
True, but
they're going to want to raise more. Yes.
They're going to want to raise a lot more than that. I think. I would do like 350 or something crazy like that for market share. Because then they can do it themselves to a certain extent.
Yes. But look, when you're getting there, you don't need to watch this. Like you know what you're doing. Yeah. You're at that level already. You're gonna figure it out. You're gonna know exactly how much you need to raise. Mm-hmm. And with us, what was exciting was that these VCs know more about our company and our industry than we do because they're surveying all the competitors. They're buying research, $50,000 research reports. They're looking 10 years ahead. Like they are big picture. Looking out in the business where we're so focused in the business, we don't see the huge picture sometimes.
Yeah.
They see the 10-year picture.
Yeah.
So they know more about us. So for them, they see the market much bigger than we see it.
Yeah.
Which was exciting to us because they were pushing us to go even bigger.
Yeah.
We didn't, initially we didn't want to raise 100 million and they were all pushing us like, you should raise more. Yeah. You should do more. You should be bigger. Mm-hmm. Actually our initial investors were telling us like, guys, you should go faster. You should go bigger. Mm-hmm. Oh, really? We can? Yes, you can. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So that's cool. Having a good partner early on that sees it and that pushes you to go bigger. That was nice.
Mm-hmm. And like with monthly updates. Well, is it even monthly updates at this point, or is it quarterly updates?
For investors, we do a monthly end of month summary, and then we also do a big quarterly where we all get together.
In person.
Cool.
Yeah. Where do you do that in Miami, or do you do it all over?
We're doing one in Miami, one in California, one in I believe New York, Washington area.
There's nothing like in person.
One in Israel. We have an office in Israel, so cool. we're every quarter we're switching it up.
There's nothing like in person though. It like helps tremendously.
Yeah.
Just like bond.
Yeah.
And
it's
everything
nice.
you need to do with investors essentially.
Yeah. It's nice. But I mean, Zoom works well too, but there's always that fun, nice touch. Yeah.
Okay. So you kind of you alluded to this yourself. What are you going to do with the money? Investors ask you, what are you going to do with this $100 million?
Yeah, it's public. It's in our press release. We want to grow our team tremendously. So
by what to what? From what to what, I should say.
We were when we raised around 150 employees. We are going to we're going to grow to about 250 by end of this year, 2025.
Okay.
So we're hiring a lot right now.
Yep.
And we are probably going to end up at around 400 in the next 3 years. Okay. So growing the team, the majority of the money will go towards growing the team. Specifically the product team, our R&D team based in Tel Aviv, Israel, is going to grow tremendously. Probably the biggest team that's going to grow by far.
That's cool.
We want to grow the product, get into bigger verticals, expand to other portfolio types, just grow the product overall, make it better overall. Our customers are growing, so we need to be able to support their growth and add features for their growth.
Especially in year 5, they're starting.
Yeah.
Year 10, some of these people, are going to be big whales compared to the guppies that they were 8 years ago.
And we have some already that are our biggest customers now. So so that's majority. Some obviously is going to marketing spend, but majority is the people, the talent, and the marketing team.
That's cool. Yeah. And what is your big vision? Like, what do you want to do with the company and when?
Yeah. I mean, the big vision is to be the go-to, platform for all things property management, not just on, thought leadership, content, resources, but also we want to be the platform, sort of like Salesforce, that sits in the middle of all the other companies that can connect to us. Mm-hmm. So think of it as you do short-term rentals, you do Airbnb, you do storage, you need all these integrations and connections with Airbnb and VRBO and Gates and this and that. I mean, we're not even talking about that today, but eventually we want to be that platform that sits in the middle where everyone can connect to us. When I came into your building today, you had Butterfly MX, mm-hmm. right? Which is, to come into your apartment, I had to call you, and it was a nice screen that you could see the video, go to your phone. Very cool. Yeah. So eventually you want to be the platform that sits in the middle, and Butterfly MX connects to Doorloop. So and by the way, Butterfly MX is a JMI portfolio company. That's who just invested $100 million.
Oh, cool.
So we know them very well. We talk to them a lot. Yeah, they're great. Yeah, that's awesome. Nice. So that's the long-term vision and the long-term goal, but it's a long-term play. We want to be here. We want to build a company for decades.
Like a legacy company.
Yeah.
But what about your shareholders? Do they want you to build a legacy company?
Yeah, they do.
Or do they want you to exit in 5 years for $350 million?
No. Previously, as first-time founders, we wanted to have that big exit, financial freedom. So we did that, fine. But then once you have it, you don't care or need it as much anymore. So now you're like, okay, let's see what we enjoy the ride, learn, grow. Can this be a multi-billion-dollar company? Can this be publicly traded? Mm-hmm. And this one can. And they wanted to. And so we're here for the ride, and we're learning. 20
years.
Yeah, we're learning every day. Yeah, it's fun.
You're going to be next time, we'll have you back next time you exit. You're going to be 50 years old. Just sold Doorloop, lower back pain.
Yeah, exactly.
But a wealthy, happy man, because everybody is using Doorloop. Well, property managers.
You got to have fun with what you're doing and enjoy every day and make the best of it. Yeah. There's going to be so many challenges. You got to love what you do and have fun every day.
How did you balance having, you said you had 3 kids, all under 7.
Yeah.
How did you balance, more of a personal question, but how did you balance having 3 children and growing startups? Because what I'm finding, and mind you, my wife handles 95%.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Number one.
A nanny and a wife. Both. They handle it. But even so, it is still demanding. Even though I'm doing a little bit compared to them, it is still very demanding, especially with trying to run a startup and having a child. How do you do that with 3?
So number one, having the most supportive partner, life partner, spouse, wife that you can. That's my number one, like you. So, if I didn't have her, it would be very hard. Yeah. She's super supportive. Sometimes, I have this event, I have to go here. No problem. She knows it's for the business, for the family. So she's very supportive. So that's number one. Nanny always helps too. And then number 2, I would say being super aggressive with my time.
Yeah, like we were talking about earlier.
Saying no
to a lot of shit.
To a lot of stuff. Yeah. Like if you asked me 3 years ago to come over here and drive, I can't. I don't have time. Yeah. Now I have more free time. So sure, of course, I want to do some more branding, thought leadership. So we have more free time. But at the beginning, I was saying no to 98% of things that came my way. Mm-hmm. Every email that came my way, no. I'm just focused on Google Ads.
Heads down.
Exactly.
Talk to me January, February, whatever.
Literally what I was doing. Literally.
Hunting at 5 months.
And it's funny when you reached out maybe 2-3 years ago, let's do this. I couldn't. I was heads down. I told you, I'm sorry, I'm heads down, So now my head's up a little bit more.
Yeah.
So heads down, focus, time management. You only have 8-9 hours a day, and you just got to be super aggressive with your time and just say no. And lastly, delegate and outsource as much as you can. I can't stress enough. I speak to so many founders that are like, I'm going to write these blog posts. I'm like, no, it's not worth your time. You can hire people for $20 to write a blog post. You can do ChatGPT. There's better use of your time. I'm going to make t-shirts and pens. I'm like, you haven't even gotten a customer yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to trademark.
Let's talk about the first 3 to 5 things that founders do wrong. Because you already said some of them. Number 1,
social media.
Here, actually, I'm going to do mine first, then you do yours. Ready? Number 1, apparel before you even have customers. No one cares who you are. The branding is just comical at that point anyway.
Yeah.
Your logo is probably shit too. You should probably work on that first before you put it on apparel.
Yep.
Number 2, time management. Yep. This is why VCs actually invest in seasoned founders, because the founders who've already done this before, they know where to spend their time.
Yep.
Number 3, energy. If you're able to manage like your actual energy levels and your stress levels, you're going to become a super founder because now you're controlling your emotions, and emotions is like half the battle with building companies. It's how and when to react and what to react
Emotional
to.
intelligence, EQ.
Yes,
super
exactly.
important. Yeah. And you learn that as a founder. In the beginning, you're super reactive
to everything.
And then you just go into problem solving mode eventually.
Yeah. Number 4, delegate as efficiently as possible. This comes really, really hard over time, but you're able to like understand like who can do what and better than you. And this goes hand in hand with hiring. At first, you're horrific at hiring. You're horrible. You're literally hiring the first people that is down to do the job. Usually, you're like, oh yeah, this person.
You have a car, you can come to
let's do it. But over time, you get like almost like relentless in figuring out who's the best of the best and why. And even then, you still second guess yourself until they prove you wrong. Which usually usually month 2 or 3 they show this. And the last one is to understand the VC game if you're raising capital. In other words, do not raise on a whim. Do not have your round open for like 2 years. Like do it efficiently, do it smart, and build relationships way before you even have to raise. That's my top 5.
I agree with all of those. I'll probably just add maybe 2 or 3 of that. Number 1, I see a lot. I mean, it depends on your business, but I see a lot of people investing so much time into social media. Oh, look at all my posts. I have 500 followers. I was like, cool. How much business did you make from that? I don't know. I was like, so you're not tracking it? No. So why are you wasting time on it? Whatever you do has to be trackable and measurable, number 1. Maybe it does bring you business. If so, go all in on that for sure. But a lot of people just aren't getting anything from it. Number 2, they spend way too much time and money on attorneys. Oh, I want to protect myself. I want this. I want to trademark. I want to patent. I'm like, no one cares about your logo. No one's going to copy you. Like, we didn't trademark anything for years. Like, no one cared. And we didn't spend any money on lawyers also.
The only caveat to that is if they have deep IP. If it's a deep IP company.
For sure.
Besides that, 95% of the time, yes.
Yeah, everything I'm saying, by the way, isn't for every single company.
It's for most, though.
So they do that. Shirts, pens, hats. Yeah, that always cracks me up. Just, they're wasting too much. So they're wasting too much time, like you said, on the non-important things. And I always tell everyone, buy lean startup, number 1. Launch your product as soon as possible. It should be horrible. Get into beta. And how can you launch in a day? How can you launch tomorrow, in a month, right? So like think really, really, really short term first. And then lastly, there was one more thing. I'll think of it later on. But
but going back to what you said right now, it's like your parents are not. They're gonna be like, oh my god, your product is amazing, and that's not what matters. What matters is the market. The market will tell you if it's needed or not, and that's why David's saying like to launch right away and figure shit out, then iterate. If you read that book, you probably know more about that.
That's what it is. They don't focus on getting clients. They focus on everything else but getting their clients. And I tell them, stop everything you're doing. And next time we talk next week, I want you to get 1 client.
Right.
Just 1 client.
No branding.
That's it.
No social media.
Just get 1 client.
No speaking engagements, even though you don't have a client.
Just get a client.
Just get a client.
That's it.
Have them pay you money.
That's it. And set a deadline. By this date, I'm going to get 1 client. And then when you do it, by this date, I'm going to get 2 clients. Like, that's it. That's all you need to do.
So if you have to leave the folks that are watching this with anything, even plugs, feel free to do it. So tidbits and plugs.
Wow. What do I
the golden nuggets and any plugs.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I mean, it's like so cliche, but like you got to have a real problem that you're solving for yourself. Ideally, it doesn't have to be, but you have to be really passionate. You have to be an expert. You have to just, learn everything you can about the industry. Passion, purpose, love for what you do. If you're going to have founders, founders are tough. It's like getting married, right? It's like, you really choose your founders wisely, make sure you get along well, you vibe well, hire the best people early on, A players, make sure you have a rigorous hiring process in the beginning. Like you said, invest money if you can in paid marketing because it pays off really quickly right away. It gets you learning and testing new things right away. Launch as early as you can, read books, get mentors, get advisors. I mean, throwing a lot of things out, but that's probably the biggest things. And work on your MIP every day. Every day, make a list of what you're going to work on. And number 1 should be your MIP, your most important project, or MIT, most important task. There's usually one thing that everyone knows they need to do, but they hold it off. They never do it. It's the hardest
Because
thing.
it's the most intimidating one.
It's hard, and they just do that. One a day. You don't need to do 20 things a day. Do one MIT a day. You'll be successful.
Yeah, I like that. And any plugs? Go to XYZ for XYZ.
No, I mean, you're welcome to go to doylebuilt.com and just see what we've done, replicate, see, look at our website, look at our blog, look at our content, look at our resources. If you have any questions, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm everywhere. Just DM me, love helping, love giving advice and giving back and mentoring. So feel free to contact me.
And you're just an overall nice guy.
Yeah.
So David Bitton, ladies and gentlemen, Door Loop, episode 5 is over. Next, we have episode 6 with Marco Benitez from Rook. So stick around, and we can't wait to see you at a camp event anywhere in the world. Just keep tracking us at camp events on Instagram, or just check us out on LinkedIn.
Thanks
Cheers,
so much.
brother.
Thank you.